Hi all, Karthik here from Design School by WP Algorithm. In this video, I'll talk about WP Forms, the most flexible, the most powerful, and probably one of the best form builders out there on the planet. And I totally mean it. It has a ton of features ranging from conditional logic, step forms, entry management, access control, and there's so much more to show you. Without wasting any time, let's get into it and see what WP Forms can do. As you can see, they can accept payments, they can do surveys, they can send newsletter subscriptions, they can do user registration, they have ton of templates. And the one that I'm rocking on my test website is the pro version or the pro license, which is this one. It essentially has all the add-ons and I can install this on 5 sites. I think this is the best deal right now. Don't be fooled by its simplicity. Let's get into WP Forms tutorial. Before building the forms itself, so once you install activated, this is all you get. There are a lot of settings and tools before getting into forms. This is our dashboard. So let's see what settings it offers. We'll tweak the settings before getting and creating the form itself. First, you can either deactivate your license key or change it in case you upgrade. You can also click here to force a refresh, and then there is an option called base and theme styling. It is totally recommended to keep this on. When you select base styling only, some of the elements may lose styling, such as honeypot, and they may be visible to user, and it's your responsibility to use CSS to hide them from users. It's a big headache. Bottom line, always use this styling, and that's what they recommend here. And if you have any problems loading WP forms, you can check this box, and here is a checkbox, and if you check this, you can comply with GDPR requirements, so you can disable user cookies and also user details. But do note, when you disable them, there are two add-ons called form abandonment, which will help you get back users once they visit the same page, or the geolocation, which will be tracking the user from where the form entry was made. These are the functions that will be disabled if you disable user cookies. And there are a couple of other details that will be missed if you check this. But in order to comply with GDPR, check all these boxes. Save settings. So once you save these settings in your form, you can click on edit. Don't worry, I'll show you form in a bit. And within standard fields, you'll now find a field called GDPR agreement. So just click and drag it, and it will show you a consent box, so user can tick this and grant access to cookies and stuff like that. Just save that. So that's how you make WP Forms GDPR compliant. Don't worry, we'll get back to the interface in a bit. I want to explain all the things on the back end so that we can get back and build the forms. So that's GDPR. Those are the things that you can check. I'll just uncheck this, go to email, and this is the template when a user fills in a form and clicks on send. So you'll get this header, and you'll get all the fields filled by the user to the email that you specify. And if you reply to it, you'll be usually replying to the same user. But if you check this, you can reply to all the people involved in that email thread. reCAPTCHA is a service by Google. You can pick the version of reCAPTCHA. I'll pick reCAPTCHA version 3. Just Google it and log in with your Google account. It's this one, google.com reCAPTCHA. I'll just select version 3. I'll give it a name, add a domain, again your domain on which you're actually adding the reCAPTCHA, wpfreedom.com. You can add any email addresses, click on accept, click on submit, and once you submit, you get a site key and a secret key. So these are the things that you need to copy in the settings. So here you'll just paste your site key and you'll paste your secret key here. And if the Google reCAPTCHA fails for some reason, you can display a custom message. You can customize this and type whatever you want. And when it is 0.4, it means that it's most likely a user. Above this, it's a normal user, otherwise it's a bot. So the reCAPTCHA will reject all the submissions that have a threshold less than 0.4. That's what it means. You can simply click on save changes, and that will enable reCAPTCHA. Again, it's quite easy to enable reCAPTCHA. All you need to do is to open up the form and click on Google reCAPTCHA, and just like that, reCAPTCHA will be enabled for this particular form. You don't have to do anything. All you need to do is to configure reCAPTCHA, get those keys from Google, and within your form, under standard fields, just click on this. If you want to disable reCAPTCHA, click again and it will be disabled. And don't forget to save your form. Again, we'll get back to the form in a bit. So those are the reCAPTCHA settings. Let's go to validation. These are the messages when a proper field is not validated. So for instance, if you don't type a proper website address, this is the message that will be shown to the user. You can customize them. So there are a lot of them. You can customize, and don't forget to click on save changes. Under payments, you can also accept payments using WPForms using free some add-ons. I think it's available only with few plans. It's available with the Pro plan, the one that I'm currently on. You can choose the currency in which the forms should accept the payments. Go to integration. Here you can integrate your forms with your marketing services. So all these are grayed out, and when you click on them, these are basically add-ons. There are a ton of add-ons for WPForms, and when you click on them, you'll have a pop-up saying install and activate. When you do that, that particular add-on gets available within the WPForms builder. And once you click on submit, you can configure the form to be sent to your email marketing service. We'll talk about this later, but that's what it is. And access, here you can restrict who should access what and who should do what with your WPForms. So for instance, you can say who can create WPForms. If you say editor, anyone below editor, so all the roles below editor such as author, subscriber, contributor, they cannot even create forms. And the same with view forms. And if you leave it blank, it will only be accessible by admin. Of course, admin has highest privileges, so he can access pretty much everything on the site. So even if you delete editor or if you don't type anything, it means only admin can see and no one else can see it. So you can choose the users that can view forms submitted by them or submitted by others. Again, you can choose who can edit forms, their own forms. If you leave it blank, by default it's admin. Even if you don't type anything, admin. And they don't even have an option to pick admin because by default he has highest privileges and he can pretty much do all these tasks. So once you pick the permissions, just click on save changes. Now if I log out and log in as an editor, here's a sample editor I created on this website. You can see I can only add new forms, but I do not have access to other settings in WPForms. Since we just gave the editor permission to just create forms and we didn't specify anything else, he can only create forms. He cannot edit, delete, view, or do anything else. Admin can do all of this. I'm logged back in as admin. And if you have plugins that define custom roles, you can pick custom roles to assign various functions to them. So if you have a user to specifically deal with form management, you can create a form admin and then pick form admin from here, so that his job will only be to view the forms and delete them, edit them, and stuff like that, analyzing the form. So that's how you grant access, and this is an awesome way to grant access control. Elementor forms do have some sort of access control, but this takes it to the next level. And under miscellaneous, you can check to hide marketing announcements, and you can check to delete all the data when you delete them, and some email summary. You have an option to import, export. System info will give you information about your website. I'll first export my form. Here you can export either entries, so you can export entries, and the entries, I don't have any entries as of now. So once you have entries, you can export them. You can export the form itself, so it will be saved as JSON. We just saved this as JSON format. You can also export the form template. Since I've exported this, I'll go to all forms. I'll delete this from here. Now I'll go back to tools. I'll import the same form. So I'll click on choose file, this one, open, import, and just like that, that form is imported right here. So when you click on it, it has all the fields that it had previously. And even cool thing about this is that you can import forms from other plugins, not the leads, because leads are basically either stored in marketing services, so you cannot access their leads, but you can access the forms itself. So here I have a sample form set up with contact form 7. It already detected that I do have contact form 7 installed on my website. So I'll pick this one, I'll click on import, and this is the only form available that is created with contact form 7. So when you click on it, it will create an equivalent WP form. Click on import, and just like that, we imported our contact form 7 form into WP forms. Now it's available within your forms list. Click on edit. It will have all the fields that were there in the contact form 7, so you won't lose any work while switching from contact form, ninja forms or other forms. So this is a really cool way to import form data, export form data, and also import forms from other plugins. That completes the first section of our tutorial, which is the settings and tools. Now let's get to section 2, which is all about the form builder and fields. Every section in the tutorial will have a timestamp, so you can navigate to the appropriate section as per your wish. This is section 2, which is the form builder part of the video. So you click on all forms. As you can see, I don't have any forms. I can simply click on add new, and this is the form builder interface. So this is where you do most of the stuff. So just give your form a name. It can be any type of form. It can be a payment form, contact us form, it can be a leads form. Just name it appropriately, and here you have few templates to start with. If you select a blank form, it will not have any fields in it. If you select any other template, it will build the form with those appropriate fields, so you can simply start editing them and drag the remaining fields. You can change the template at any time. So for instance, let's say I've created a simple contact form and I click on that template, and it has created all the fields that would be required for a contact us form: name, email, comment, and submit button. Submit button is a part of every form, no matter which form you use. In case you change your mind and you want to build the form from the scratch, you can either delete all the fields from here, or you can click on setup again and click on create blank form. Now it will tell me that all the existing form fields will be deleted and the new template will be applied. If I choose blank form, I won't have any fields at all. I just chose blank form, and you can see all the fields are erased and a new template is inserted, which is essentially a blank form. I'll go to setup again. Now I'll pick this template. I'll click OK. Now I see a different field set because of the different template that I chose. So you can change the setup at any point in time, but you just usually set it up while creating the form itself. Go to fields, and here you can see there are three kinds of fields. The first kinds of field is standard fields, the second kind of field is fancy field, and the third one payment field. And you can simply click and drag them into your form just like that. Now I'll just change the setup from a code form to a normal contact form. I'll say okay. It'll delete all the previous, and every time you make some change, don't forget to click on save. And at the form level, you also have settings for the form itself. So you can go under general, you can change the form name, form description. You can add classes for this form to target it using CSS, but I'll show you in another section of this video, where you can style the form using Elementor without writing a single piece of code. And you can obviously change the submit button text. You can simply say go and submitting while the submission is being done. You can also add a class to it, and here you can enable anti-spam honeypot, and the reCAPTCHA that we set up in our settings, you can also enable that anti-spam honeypot. You can also enable dynamic fields population. I'll make a separate video on this. So how do you use the form created with WP Form Builder? Like I said, every form will have an associated shortcode. You can see that from here. So if you go to all forms, you can find shortcode for each form. You can take this shortcode and put wherever there's text. Within Gutenberg interface, they have a block to choose WP Forms. So you can click on widgets and you can choose WP Forms, and from here you can pick your form. This is the form that we just created. So I'll call this test page WP Forms. They also have a widget, so you can use this in your sidebars and stuff like that, or you can simply put the shortcode itself. I'll hit publish and I'll click on view page. So this is our contact us form that we created with WP Forms, and you can see the reCAPTCHA, Google reCAPTCHA that we set up earlier. You cannot see honeypot because it's only visible to bots. Bots think that it's a field to be filled, and they'll be stuck in a forever loop and they'll never make it to submit the form. That way you can prevent dummy entries from bots. And since I've enabled Ajax for submission, watch what happens as I fill the form field and submit it. I'll click on go when I submit my details, and when I click go, you can see the submitting button, and you can see the page is not reloaded. All I see is a thank you message. Well, if I disable that, click on save. Let's do that again. With the Ajax disabled, you can see the page will be reloaded now as we submit the form. I'll just click on go again, and you can see the page being reloaded. Previously it didn't. Now it just reloads the page. Under notifications, you can set up the notification at the email address at which you want to receive once the form is submitted. You can also turn these off. You can add a new notification and you can mail that to a different address, and maybe you can add conditional logic to that. Confirmations. So once the submission is made, you can either show him a message, show him a page. So pick the page that you have created on your website or just create a new one, or you can simply redirect him to a new URL, maybe checkout page or whatever. Message would be really great. Just save it once you pick your options. Let's go back to fields, and now I'll change the setup to blank form just to show you each field one by one. So I'll hit OK. All I have is a blank canvas. Let's drag in the first field, which is a single line text field. What exactly is the responsive status of WPForms form builder? Well, if you do not add any CSS of your own, no matter what you do, what fields you drag in, all the form fields and the form itself is responsive by default. So you don't have to worry about the responsive nature. Just drag in your fields, build your form, and that's it. You're good to go. It's all responsive. It will look really good on all devices. And you can simply click and drag from the fields that are available. Click here. You can copy or duplicate the field. You can delete the field as well. And if you want to adjust the settings, contextual options for that particular field, just simply click on that. This is a single line text field. When I click on it, it will be taken to a field options. You can also click that from here. You can add a description to this field. This is a text field. Please enter valid characters, something like that. So you can add a description. You can also make this a required field. Under advanced options, you can choose the size of the field. You can make it small, medium, large. Medium would be good for all kinds of fields. You can also add placeholder and also limit the length of the characters in the field, and that can be the placeholder as well. You can also add a CSS class to this particular field, and then there's something called show layouts. So when you click on it, you'll have to pick from one of the many layouts that you have. Well, this is not the layout of this field itself, but it's combination of this field and the field that you choose next. So if you want this layout for this field and another field, just click this field, select this layout, and choose which part of the layout this field should appear. So I'll just click this one. Now let's drag in another field. So I'll click on add fields. I'll drag in paragraph text. I'll click on this. Under advanced options, I'll go to show layouts. I'll click on the same layout. Now I want this to be the part of the right side of the layout. You may not see the field here. We'll save the form. We'll refresh the page from here so that you can see the fields in action. As you can see, since we have chosen that layout, this field is onto the left side of that layout and the other field is on the right side of the layout. Similarly, you can build complex layouts, but usually if you don't want any layouts and stuff like that, just drag and drop your fields and build the form. It will look good and it's also responsive. Even with all the layouts that you do with this, it's responsive by default. So again, let's build another layout. I'll drag this field. I'll click on this. I'll drag in a paragraph field. I'll maybe drag in a name field. Let's build a complex layout and let's go to name field. I'll pick the simple layout for this field. I'll click on the first field under advanced options right next to CSS classes. Let's pick a 3-column layout. I want this to be the first of the 3 columns, this to be the second of the 3 columns. We'll go to show layouts again, pick this second, and I want the paragraph text to be the third of the 3 layouts. We'll pick this and this. Let's save it and let's refresh it. You can see the 3 form layout. That's what layouts do. But usually just drag in the fields, adjust them and tweak the settings. You don't need layouts, but in case you want multi-column layout or multi-column text fields or stuff like that, you can use this layout option. Again, for paragraph text, you have a couple of options. Just click on this to get contextual options or click on field options. Under advanced, field size, placeholder text, limit length. You can also hide label, so that will turn off the label from there. You can also enable conditional logic. We'll get to conditional logic in a bit. I'll click on add fields. Now let's add another field. I'll now add a drop down field right above this. I'll click on drop down. You can change the label of the drop down, and here you can add or delete the choices or edit the choices. I'll first delete a couple of them. You cannot delete all of the choices, at least one is required. There's something called bulk add, so they have presets for the commonly used drop down items. So when you click on that and click on show presets, they'll show you some of the most commonly used presets. So countries is one of the presets that you usually use, or the months preset. So when you click on it, all this data will be added to your drop down menu. So I'll click on add new choices, and just like that, all of the choices appear in the drop down menu. Let's remove the additional one. Now click save. Let's see our drop down in action. I'll refresh the page that has this form embedded, and just like that I have all the months list. You can obviously remove all the fields by clicking on this minus button. Click on bulk add, click on show presets. You can select a country's preset if you want. Click on add new choices, and just like that all the choices will be added. I'll save it. Let's see how that looks like. You can see all the countries list, so you don't have to enter the common data. There are some presets for it. So that's drop down field. And speaking of the conditional logic, let's enable conditional logic for this paragraph text. Now we'll say show this field if the select field is December. So if the select field is not December, will not show this field. Also add a couple of rules. When you click on and, all the conditions should be satisfied. When you click on another rule, either this one or this one might be satisfied to perform this conditional logic, which is to show this field. We'll get to that in a bit. So I said show this paragraph text if December is picked from the drop down. I'll save this. Let's see if that works. I'll refresh this page. By default December is selected, which is why I see the paragraph text. Now I pick something else, I do not see that particular field because that's the conditional logic that we set, and the conditional logic can be set in groups. Now let's duplicate this one more time. I'll just duplicate this. I'll change this to another drop down, and here I'll change the conditional logic of this particular field. So I'll say and. So I'll only show this field when the drop down is December and the second menu should be America. I don't have America here, so I'll just select Antarctica and I'll select. So here I clicked and, so both the conditions should be satisfied to show this field. Even if one condition fails, this field will be hidden. You can simply add a new rule group that will be or, so and, so the combined result of this or another rule group. Let's see how that looks like. So this field will be shown only when I pick December from here and Antarctica from here. Let's refresh the form page. As you can see, another country is picked and the field is hidden. Now I'll pick December from here. I'll pick Antarctica, and just like that, that particular field is shown. This is highly helpful in getting contextual feedback, contextual leads, and so much more, and you can do a lot more with this conditional logic. Conditional logic in app is absent in Elementor Pro forms, and users have been asking for so long. It's already built right into WPForms, no add-ons to install. All this is built right into this. So that's drop down menu. Now let's delete these fields. Since we have deleted the fields that had conditional logic, even the conditional logic will be disabled. I'll say disable conditional logic. You have check boxes. Click on this and let's see the options that we have. So you can provide a description for it. You can make it required, so that star appears there. If you make it required, you can randomize choices, and the column layout, you can pick 2 columns, 1 column, or you can also show all of them in line. So that's a really neat formatting option. Choice limit, if you want users to pick multiple options, you can maybe limit them to 2. And if you enable dynamic choices, watch what happens when I click post type. So the options that we have are basically the titles of the post. You can pick any other post type, you can pick pages as well. So the options in the checkboxes are basically our pages. Maybe you can ask him about the feedback on your website and see which pages are easy to use or easy to navigate, something like that. You can turn this off. You can enable this just in case the disclaimer is shown to the user. This will be properly formatted, and we've selected choices here. Let's see how that choices will look like on the front end. Don't worry about the styling. We'll cover styling in the other section of this video. Since we've set the limit to 2, we can only pick 2 options. When I try to pick the third one, it will say I've exceeded the number of selections, and when I try to submit, it's not being submitted because I cannot pick more than 2. Select this and submit. The submission is done. So that's how it works. Now let's see the other field, which is a multiple choice field. Again, you have options for it. You can also use image choices, so you can have images above them. You can upload the images from your website. Under advanced options, you can also randomize choices. You can also choose the column layout. Maybe you can pick them in line. I've dragged in numbers field into my form. You can make it required. Under advanced options, you can also show a default value for the numbers, so only numbers can be entered within. You can see how that would look like. We'll go to this form again, and it has a step count. If I try to type alphabets in it, I cannot. If I hit numbers, I can type numbers into it. Only numbers are allowed. If I type, even if I type alphabets, it won't take the input, so you don't have to worry about validation there. So that's a neat little touch. That's numbers field. Let's go with the next field, which is the email field. It's pretty much simple. ReCAPTCHA I've shown you earlier. You just need to click to enable it. When you click on it, you don't have to drag in. As you can see, reCAPTCHA is enabled. Again, you click to disable it. It'll ask me to, if I'm really sure to disable reCAPTCHA, I'll say okay. Now I'll drag in our number slider. Click on this, change the name to anything. Maybe you can say range, or maybe price range. Maybe your client can pick the budget at which you want his project to be completed. You can set minimum value and maximum value. Minimum value, let's keep it to $10, and maximum value, let's keep it to $100. Let's increment in the steps of 100. So he can either pick $100 or he can pick $200, nothing in between. So if as he drags in the slider, he'll see 100, 200 till 1000. That's what we have set here. So step value is the rate at which this value should be incremented as we drag through. I'll just click on save. Let's test that. I'll refresh the page, and you can see the minimum value is 100. It shows me that the selected value is 100. As a drag, I can only drag till 200 but not somewhere in between. So you can estimate his budget like this, and the maximum value is 1000. So you can click on this title to minimize the panel. Now let's go to fancy fields, and under fancy fields I have some of the captions or some of the fields grayed out. Again, these are add-ons, so you can click on them to install and activate. They require separate add-ons, and they'll be installed as separate plugins. So if you want signature add-on, just click on install and activate it. So once you install and activate add-ons from within the form builder interface, it'll ask you to save and refresh. I'll just say save and refresh. You can also install and activate add-ons from the dashboard. So click on dashboard, and here you have an option to install, deactivate add-ons. From here you can install any add-on that you need, and this is the add-on that we currently activated. You can simply click on this to deactivate the add-on, and you need to refresh your form again. Now I have the signature add-on. I can simply click and drag it, and you cannot see the preview here. We'll save it. Again, we'll go to our test page. We'll refresh this, and we'll see the signature add-on in action. So just like that, I can sign my forms using my trackpad. You can also reset your signature by clicking here and signing again. So that's a really neat add-on. Let's see other add-ons under fancy field. So the first one is the phone field. Let's drag it, click on it, and format. You can choose between smart, US, and international. Always pick smart because it will detect the country and the format in which the phone number is usually entered in that particular country. So this will save you a ton of time. If you choose international, user has to enter his prefix code and stuff like that, but always choose smart, so it will locate the user and it will pick the right format for the user. I'll show you what I mean. And as you can see, it detected that I'm from India. You can also change the country from here. I can simply enter my number. So if your user is filling the form from China, it will detect China. It will show him his flag, and it will ask him to enter the phone number in the format which is popular in China. So that's a really neat thing about phone fancy field, and pretty much all the advanced options are same. Let's go to the next field, which is the address field. Click on address field. Again, scheme, you can choose between US and international. Always pick international so that the user can also pick country. You can also change the default values or placeholders for each line. You have date and time field. You can click on this and choose the format. So you can just have date, time, and when user clicks on it, the calendar picker automatically opens, so you don't have to configure anything. Under advanced options, you can pick the format in which you want the date. Also the date drop down, date picker would be good, however you want. Date drop down, you can pick the month, date or year, whichever you want. You can also pick time in 24-hour or 12-hour format. You can also set the interval of the time. We'll save this, we'll see how that looks like. You can pick month from here, day, year. When I click on time, I can pick in the intervals of half an hour or 30 minutes. So that's really neat. Now I can submit that and the data is submitted. All the submissions that we make here on this form will be saved in the backend. By default, you can disable that. So when you click on forms, you can click on settings and you can disable storing entry information in WordPress. If you do that, leads won't be collected and stored in your database, but it's always advisable to uncheck this one because you want the leads, you want to be able to back them up. When your website is backed up, all your leads are also backed up. This is a functionality, it's missing from Elementor Pro. It's built into WPForms. Let's go back to our page. Now that's the field, date field. Similarly, you have website URL. You also have file upload. This one is really huge. You can choose to allow what kind of files you want in your file browser, and it supports all the files that are supported by WordPress. In case you want additional files, you have to add a third-party plugin to allow additional files such as SVGs. By default, SVGs are not allowed in WordPress, so you need to have a plugin that will allow SVG uploads, and then you can also allow SVG uploads in WPForms as well. So this is basically taking the allowable file extensions from WordPress. So you can choose JPEG, PNG or PDF files or doc files, and you can also pick a maximum file size. I think it's 128 MB, and also the maximum number of files. Under advanced, you can also store them in WordPress media library. It's stored with WPForms by default, where WPForms is stored in a website. But if you want all the files in the media library, you can check this box. I'll leave it unchecked, save it. Let's see file picker in action. So this is our file picker. I'll click here. Here's a PNG I can pick. Since we've set 2 files, it's saying 2 files. It's submitted even with 1 file. The maximum number of files is 2. Let's pick 2 more. Let's pick 1 more. I'll pick this, and now I cannot have the file picker because I've chosen the maximum amount of files. You can also tweak the interface of the file upload field. So here under style, you can choose between modern and classic. Classic will have that button kind of layout, but I think modern looks better, and it also blends well with the style of your website. We'll save, and now you can submit the form, and these files will be saved in your database along with your form entry. You can also add a page break. This is how you create step forms basically. You can add section divider. This is like a subheading within your forms, so you can give it a title. That's it. It's just a divider indicating that this is a different section and this is a different section. That's all. It just serves that purpose, doesn't have any other purpose. You can also add HTML password field, and there's something called captcha. It's not reCAPTCHA, it's captcha. So this is a smart captcha, and again this is an add-on that you need to install and activate it. Under fancy fields, I can just click and drag the captcha field, and it has math questions. You can customize this. Click on this. Here you can add math questions, or you can ask users common questions. These are some things that bots cannot do because they're dumb. They usually try to fill data and then cannot guess any questions and answers. I think math question would be great. So adding such a smart field, you can remove Google reCAPTCHA, but Google reCAPTCHA is a bit seamless and users might find difficulty with this. If you're using 10+1, well, it's not a big deal, but still using Google reCAPTCHA is advised. So that's all that you get with the fancy fields. There's something called like a scale and net promoter scale to take surveys. You can create survey forms with that. We'll get to that later. Maybe I'll make a separate video on it. So that's all you get with the standard fields, fancy fields, and now within payment fields, you have a couple of fields. So these fields, along with the payment integration add-on, will let you collect payments from your forms. I'll click on PayPal. install and activate it, and once it's activated I'll refresh and get back. So my PayPal is activated here. I can click on payments, go to PayPal standard and configure it. You can give your PayPal email address. You can choose between mode. If you just want to test if the form is working, you can choose this one, test or sandbox, and you can choose the payments type, so either for products and services or for donation. And in case the payment fails, you can redirect users to maybe submit the form again or pay again. You can also have an option to either ask the users for address or don't ask users for address. You can also enable conditional logic. I'll just save it. I'll give a PayPal address here. Well, this is a dummy address, I don't have it. So once I've configured PayPal, now it's time to change my form. As of now I'm using simple contact form. Now I just want a donation form since I have PayPal setup. So it's saying that all the fields will be deleted. I'll say OK, and it says payments tab should be configured, which I already did. And now you can see the donation amount. So this is actually a single item, it's this one. So here the user can pick the amount that he wants to donate, and he can simply when he clicks on submit, he'll be taken to PayPal website where he can pay, and that payment will be received to the address that is specified. Again, this is a number that the user can type in. It won't take alphabetical input, it will only take number input, so he can type the numbers even in decimals. I'll show you this in a bit. Make sure you configure payments and you click on save. Also we'll change submit label to pay or donate. We'll say donate, we'll save it now. And also make sure you enable anti-spam honeypot on your donation form so that the bots don't bother you. You can choose this one, but just keep all defaults. And this is our form, and you can see here if I try to type alphabets or special characters, it won't take, but it will take numbers as inputs. So if I type 3, that will be the amount of donation that can be made. So user can simply punch in numbers. So if he wants to donate $100, just enter that, comment, and once he clicks on donate, he'll be taken to PayPal's website where he can log in and donate to the email address that we specified. So he can log in, and this is how payments work. Here's the amount that's pre-filled from our form, and that's how you add payment forms. But I'll make separate tutorials, separate videos on payment forms, but this is how you do it using all the fields, payment fields. And the donation amount, apart from donation amount, there are also multiple items, so he can actually pick which one he wants, and for each one there'll be a price. And before proceeding to the checkout, you can also show him the total using the total field. So this will effectively show him how much is going to pay you or donate. You can punch in a number from here, and within this you can configure how much amount you want to select. So if he punches in a $10 here, and if he picks this one, he's essentially going to give you $20, and that will be reflected in total before he submits it. So I'll save this, I'll come back to our form. So this is our form. I'll say $10 and I'll pick the first item, and you can see the total is $20, and this is reflected dynamically based on all the payment fields. It will calculate the payment field and it will show him that you're going to pay, or he's going to pay you this much amount. The same with other payment fields. There are also checkbox items, so he can check checkbox or drop down items, payment or donation that's being made to the form, or in case to us. So that's how the payment field works. Now I changed the layout of my form. Click on setup and changed it. You can create different forms. I'm just showing it for demo purposes. So I just created a simple contact form. I'll save it. I'll say create a simple contact form. So that's WPForms form builder in a nutshell. That brings us to the next section, which is to style and actually design the form itself. How can you make your WP forms look good on the front end to match your website or to match your theme? Well, you all know, like I showed you earlier, that the forms inherit styles from your theme. I have Astra theme active on this particular website, so they get the labels and different styles defined from the theme's CSS. But what if you want to change the fields or individual fields? What if you want to change the font size? What if you want to style the fields and do all that? There are two easy ways to do this. The easiest way of all is to use a plugin called CSS Hero. As I explained in the HTML basics tutorial, your plugins, your themes and other add-ons will basically supply HTML, and you can customize it using CSS. Even though this is a WP form, internally it's an HTML form. So that means you can customize each and every field using CSS. So I have CSS Hero installed on this test website. So this is my WP form. It's a simple form. Let's click on customize with CSS Hero. I already explained how you can use CSS Hero. Link to that will be in the description. Click on customize with CSS Hero. Open the page on the front end. Click on customize with CSS Hero. It takes us to the CSS Hero interface, and you can simply click on the field. You can point them out. Click on the field. Go to properties. Let's change the font family from here. Let's pick Times New Roman, and just like that, the font family of each and every field is changed here. What if you want to change the font family or font of just this field? Well, it's simple. Right click on it, right click, and you use the context definer to only this element. Now let's change this to something else, and only that particular field changes its font family, but not the other fields, because we've used the contextual refiner. You can say only this page, and now if I change it to something, all the fields will be affected by this. You can also change the color of the fields. Click on it, go to typography. You can see the color here. Let's pick blue, and just like that, each and every field is changed. Let's also change these. So whatever you can see can be customized using CSS Hero. I'll click on this first. This is the description, first name and last name. I'll click on this. I'll also change the color of this to gray, and you can see that there. If you want a better color, click on it, choose another color, just like that. You can use context definer. I'll click on this field. I'll add a border radius. I'll go back, click on border radius. Let's increase the border radius of this field, and it affects the border radius of all input fields, but not this one. Let's click on this field. Let's change the border radius of this too, so it looks more rounded. Just like that, without writing a single piece of code, you can basically change each and everything. Let's click on it. I'll change the background color of just this field, so I have to use the context definer. Right click, only this element, and then I'll go back. I'll say background. Let's pick a background. We just picked a background for that particular field, just like that. If you want a different background, just pick a different background from here. Again, while picking background, you have to use the context definer. Let's pick a different background for this email field. I'll right click, only this element, context definer. Go here. I'll pick this. I'll reduce the transparency so that the transparent effect takes effect. Just like that, without writing any single piece of CSS code, you can customize a form. Even your submit button can be customized using this. So right click, you just say only this element, go to submit, and you can also use the snippets built into go to button. I'll apply this, and the submit button is a gradient now. So it's that easy changing all the things in your WP forms using CSS Hero. Finally, if you want to revert all your edits, you just click here, reset theme styles, and all the edits will be gone, and all the fields will be brought back to their normal position. Again, you can click and simply change it using CSS. It's pointing them out and just clicking them. You can also add animations if you want. Now, believe me or not, but you can style even the file upload form with CSS Hero. How cool is it? Even experienced devs or developers or designers have problem styling these forms, but with CSS Hero, you just click and customize it just like that. I'll add a black background to the file upload. I'll also change the color of click or drag to file. Here I'll click on this, go back, typography. I'll change the color to blue. I'll hit OK. Don't forget to click on save changes. You can also style the drop down menus. I'll click on this. I'll change the color of the choices to orange. Even these are affected. Again, if I want, I just say only this element, and I change it to something else. Similarly, I do the same with all the other elements. I can pick any color I want. And if you want to apply global styles to your forms, don't use the context definer. Simply click on the elements, add the properties that you want. I've also added border for these fields, so it has that neat little orange color to it. Let's also adjust the border radius of this field. I'll go back, I'll click on border radius, and that's it. And one more thing to note, while using CSS Hero, don't try to use layout like I mentioned earlier, because it might affect the responsive nature of your forms. Just use minimal styling such as colors. Now this is the preview or the actual page of the form. So we changed all the fields, added that border, and for some reason the border radius doesn't change, but I changed the background and also the color of the text here, and here are the choice colors. You can also change or style drop down, but I don't think this drop down is that easily styled, and this is something web developers find really hard to do, but you can do pretty much a lot of styling just with click, point and click. So CSS Hero is your best bet on styling WP forms. What about the second method? Is there a free alternative to this? Answer is yes, and the answer is Elementor. So using CSS Hero, we took a bare basic form such as this one and styled it to something like this. Pretty cool, right? Now let's see how we can design and even change aspects of your WP form using Elementor and without using any add-on. You need to have Elementor page builder installed on your site. So this is the page that has my contact form. I've changed my contact form to a basic form. Now I'm back to my test website. So go to Elementor, go to templates, click on save templates. We'll just add a full width page in Elementor and we'll embed this and style the form using this. So I'll say WP Forms test 1 page. I'll click on create template. It'll open up the Elementor interface. I'll click on the settings cog. I'll change the layout to Elementor canvas. So we'll just have the form on this page and nothing else. How do you embed the form? Well, I told you every form in WP Forms has a shortcode. So you can take the shortcode and paste it into Elementor. So in this Elementor interface, on this Elementor page, you can search for shortcode widget. It's this one. I think it's a pro widget. You can even put shortcodes using the text editor widget or any widget with text in it. Let's try that out. So here, just remove the content, take the shortcode from here, copy and just paste it, update it. You may not see the preview here, but when you click on the eye icon, you can see the form being embedded. But a better way to work with this is by using the shortcode widget. So I'll just remove the text editor widget. Any widget with text can display the shortcodes. I'll just drag in the shortcode widget. I'll paste the shortcode of the form here and I get a kind of preview. This is not an actual preview. It's kind of buggy. I don't know why. It should have been accurate. Again, you can click on preview and see how it looks like. But since we're styling the fields and stuff like that, we can see how that would apply when we style these fields. And there's another way to insert WP forms into Elementor, either by using shortcode widget or any widget with text in it. Just remove the text field and paste the shortcode, or click on the widgets button, click on WordPress, scroll down, and here you see WP forms. Just drag it in and pick your WP form. This is my WP form. Even in this way, you can put your WP forms widget. Now since we've dragged it into Elementor interface, it becomes an Elementor widget, right? We cannot control the widget fields itself from Elementor, but we can do other things such as adding padding to the widget, adding a background to the widget, and a lot more. So I'll just click on the pencil icon, go here. Let's add a padding of 50 pixels. That would look better. I'll update it. I'll click on the section that has this form. I'll go here. I'll pick a background for my form. I'll click on this. Even the preview gets updated. And now you see the form is kind of styled. Well, how do you change the styles of these fields? Well, starting with Elementor version 2.9, there's something called theme styles. Remember what Elementor said about that? Theme styles are a way to globally style all the elements on your website. So click on theme styles, and this is available with the free version of Elementor as well. Once you're in the theme styles interface, you cannot edit the widgets, and in here you have something called form fields. Just click on it. I think my theme styles is disabled. I'll publish it, and the moment I publish my theme styles, even WP forms inherits my theme styles, because internally WP forms are still HTML forms. Let's go ahead and change the color. Let's pick maybe this color to our label. Let's change the typography. I'll pick Times New Roman. I'll click on this. I'll pick Times New Roman. You can also change the focus color. So once the field gets focused, or when the user clicks on the field, You can change the text color to something. I'll change it to this. Update. Go to the preview page. Even the preview page gets updated. See that? When I click on it, the focus color of the text changes here. Normal color is this. When I click away from the field, it returns to its normal color. So that's what it means. And you can change background color of the focus field, or you can simply add a solid border. So let's add a solid border whenever a field is focused, or when you click on this, you can see that there. You can also use tab to navigate between fields. I hit tab and even that would outline it. It would style all the general elements as much as it can, and Elementor is going to roll out more theme style features, so you can style WP forms even by using theme styles even there. You can also pick border radius from here, so 50 pixels border radius in normal state would be great. I'll go to normal. Border radius should be 50 pixels. I'll update it. Now we'll get the rounded borders for each of the fields. See that? And similarly, you can add box shadow. Horizontal, you can adjust the blur and stuff like that. So that's a quick way to style WP forms using Elementor fields. The button was not targeted. Let's see if the button can be targeted using this. We'll go here. Text color, let's change the background color to something. I think that should affect the button as well, but for some reason I think the WP forms CSS is overriding the button. But you can target this button and change its properties using CSS, similar to how we did with Elementor buttons. So how do you style this form even further? Now we have a good working form, but since this is an Elementor widget, you can work with it the way you work with other Elementor widgets. So I'll just, once you publish the theme kit or theme styles, just click on this X button, it returns to its normal interface. I'll just remove this. I'll click on update. I just have one form for that page. I'll click on this column. I'll say add new column. I'll drag this widget onto the right of the column, and on the left side, let's add an image. Let's pick a large image for this. Let's also center the image. You can vertical align it the way you want, or let's actually pick the background for the section as this particular image. I'll remove it from this column. I'll click on section. I'll pick an image for this section. So I'll pick this as my image, background image, and now the form has that particular background. And when I click update, you can see the form has the background that we specified here. Let's add few elements to make this more interactive. So I'll just add a heading here saying fill in your form. Let's change the color and other stuff. You can also change the blend mode from here. So picking various blend modes will result in various colors. Click on typography. Let's adjust the size. Let's add an image below this, which will be our logo. I'll pick an image. I'll pick this. Let's change the image size to custom. I'll change it to 50 by 50 pixels. Apply. So let's drag this onto the top of this. So now it looks kind of like our branded image. You can also remove this background and put a gradient as well if you wish to. You can put any background. You can also put background slides for your form. Just change the color. I think that look better. I'll update it. Let's see the preview in action. And just like that, we styled WP forms using Elementor, and you can do even a lot more. You cannot change the fields themselves, but you know what we can do with Elementor. You can add interactivity to it. You can also align this logo onto the center and also the text onto the center. Let's align both of them onto the center. Update the form. Let's see the preview in action now. That's kind of neat, isn't it? So that's how you style your WP forms using Elementor or CSS Hero using Elementor's theme styles or CSS Hero's click to use interface. That's it for now. That's a quick in-depth tutorial of WP forms, but trust me, it has a ton of other features that I cannot fit into this tutorial. There's a playlist on the channel called WP Forms Tutorials. I'll be making each and every content related to the WP forms on the channel, and I'll put it there: how to accept payments, how to accept user registrations, and a lot more coming up right there. So stay tuned for other tutorials on WP forms and other Elementor tutorials. This is Karthik from Design School with WP Algorithm. See you in the next one. Peace.